to the Unibet Champions League of Darts, brought to you by the Professional Darts Corporation. We welcome our viewers joining us on BBC Sport. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to meet the players. Would you please welcome from Austria, the European Championship finalist and a winner of a PDC ranking event. Ladies and gentlemen, the gentle Suljović! And now, ladies and gentlemen, the pride of Scotland, a two-time Premier League champion, a two-time back-to-back champion of the world, the Flying Scotsman! Gary!
Here we go. Alan Warren a little has joined us in the studio, and that means it's Paul and Vassos.
Well, sorry to disappoint everybody, but Vassos has taken a well-earned rest. It's Dan Dawson and Paul Nicholson in the commentary box for this one, and what a game it is. A fascinating clash of styles. The Flying Scotsman, Gary Anderson, two-time world champion, two-time Premier League champion, world number 2, and one of the most fluent throwers in the game, taking on possibly the most awkward-looking thrower in the game in Mensur Suljović, the gentle, the Austrian making his debut in this Champions League of Darts, and a very, very tough opponent, and one that Gary Anderson absolutely despises coming up against. Loves Mensur as a man, lovely fella. But as an opponent, he absolutely hates it, doesn't he?
He absolutely does. He'd much rather be playing Michael van Gerwen right now, or Adrian Lewis, because they play at the same pace as he does. Mensur Suljović is the epitome of unconventional.
And just to highlight how awkward it can be, they've even messed up their handshake at the start. I love that. We're going for a fist bump and a handshake. It all got messy, and Mensur is starting perfectly.
Well, we've mentioned in the coverage earlier that Mensur Suljović has been a little bit off form in the last few weeks, but he started this tournament rather well.
Well, one in the skinny 5, no help to him, but a good adjustment. Mensur has just become a dad once again, and it's only, I think, 3.5 weeks since his little girl was born. He has said that coming away to the darts at weekends is blessed relief. He can actually get some sleep, and you never know. It might just be that this weekend in Cardiff, if Mensur Suljović can recapture the form that he was showing last year, the year before, as he's risen up the rankings to world number 7, then do not rule this man out of going all the way.
Well, you can't rule anybody out in this field. best players in the world. And Suljović right now is making things awkward for Anderson in the very first leg. Could well go treble 16 here, because he will want to leave his favoured double 14 as much as he can.
Not many players in the world of darts have a favourite double that is double 14, but Mensur Suljović has made it his own to such an extent that it's now known as the Mensur. But he's pretty handy anywhere on the outer ring, and it's double top he wants for a 13 darter.
Double 10 he gets. Yeah, Suljović we saw earlier on with his grip. It's very unconventional, as we've mentioned with Mensur style as a whole, but he strangles the dart, which is in complete contrast to the Gary Anderson grip, because he's holding his dart like a feather.
Doesn't matter how you hold them, if you kick off 180 every leg, which is what Mensur Suljović is looking to do in this one. Another maximum for the Austrian.
A lot of people, before this week started, Dan, were tipping Gary Anderson for glory here, because he had the perfect balance of having a couple of weeks rest. He's already mentioned to a lot of us that he's not getting any younger. But he won the Perth Darts Masters at the end of last month, so he's come into this in really good shape. But at the moment, it just looks like Suljović is up for this. He's ready for the challenge that the Flying Scotsman's going to give him.
Well, look, we saw Dave Chisnell earlier on. He and Peter Wright, the first couple of legs, it was back-to-back 11 darters. Chizzy didn't really manage to maintain that kind of form through the game. So it is early days here. But you cannot argue with how Mensur Suljović has started this against the world number 2. And he's got a shot at 1-2-1 here. Treble 20 will be the first dart, and he would love to hit treble 11 with the next.
It'll have to be a treble 17, which he gets for the bullseye. And now, you know that Anderson wants to leave tops, so a treble 20 and a single 2 and a double top will get him level.
82.
One dart missed by each player. Mensur Suljović. 9 for double 8, you would think. It is. Sliding in alongside that one. Into the top section of the bed, and Mensur fired up for this one. Breaker throw 2-0.
Mensur to throw first. Game on.
We've mentioned as well that Mensur Suljović hasn't just got his own double, but he's got his own celebration. The headbutt.
Ah, the Mensur headbutt. We will see it repeatedly, I would bet.
59.
A lovely use of the lie, and he knows that getting a lead on Gary Anderson is paramount for his success in this match.
Well, you look at their previous meetings. They've only met 4 times. But Gary has won a couple of them. It's 2 apiece. If you just looked at the overall record like that, you would think it's fairly even. But the key thing is, every single time Mensur has got close. The 2 games that Gary won, he only won them 6-5, both in Barnsley. The other games, one was won by Mensur in April, but the big one, the World Match Play, their first meeting a couple of years ago, and Mensur making it through to the quarterfinals for the first time, beat Gary Anderson in a longer format game, 13-9, and Gary could not handle it. Well, Mensur there, perhaps not thinking completely clearly. He was going for a 140. It would have left 162. That's a bogey number. You can't go out from 162. That's why Gary had switched over to the 18s there.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic from the Austrian, because he is renowned as one of the best counters in the game. And when we were looking at Gary's coaching tool on the screens before we started here today, he was talking about that very shot, that 302, where you utilise your mathematics to get to a finish.
Well, he has got to a finish, Gary Anderson. It's not one he's going to take out. However,
58.
Mensur, this is a huge one. Not going to happen. Anderson, chance to break straight back.
Even though Gary wants the treble 20 here, he will not be heartbroken. Well, hang on a second. 61. 61 remains. He just checks with the referee, the right thing to do if you're not sure. Bullseye. Just tell that Gary's a little bit out of rhythm here, Dan. He's not comfortable.
Well, he should have had at least a dart at a double there. In the end, he only got one at the bullseye, and it could well prove to be a significant blow in the early stages of this, because Mensur, 2 darts at a double, no mistake from the gentle in hitting the big number. And no mistake on the double either. Mensur Suljović comes from a significant way behind in that one. It is 3-0 to a man who's come into this tournament as one of the rank outsiders. As much as anybody in the top 8 in the world can be a rank outsider.
Isn't that the beauty of the tournament? That sometimes you just get things happening that you don't fully understand or predict. And that's one of the reasons why we love this sport and why we keep watching it.
Well, just to go back to that match play meeting, their first meeting when Gary was beaten by Mensur, that's where we found out just how much Anderson dislikes playing Mensur. He was quite open about it at the end of the match, saying it just baked his head. He could not handle it. He wants to be up there and racing around the stage, chucking in visits, rat-a-tat-tat stuff. That's when Gary Anderson can flow, and it often produces his best stuff. This is pretty good.
133.
Good use of the treble 19 from Gary Anderson. Understood that if he got a treble 19 and 2 singles, it would still leave a finish. He's trying to put more pressure on Suljović now. Battle of the 3-dart finishes. Who gets the first shot of the double?
Could have gone a lot better there. This is a huge one. Mensur Suljović used to play a lot of soft-tip darts. Slightly different game. They love a bullseye, a soft-tip player. Use it all the time. Now, he might need the bullseye at the end of this, because treble 17 gives them a shot at it. And these soft-tip players love a bullseye. Oh, but he can't find it.
He made it move, but Gary Anderson was looking for 2 double tops there. Now he needs a 25 and a bullseye.
55.
Just a little bit more on that and it was in, but it dipped at the end, and it gives Suljović a chance at 988 once more.
For the second leg running, Gary Anderson misses a big number. That was very close to busting his score there, Mensur Suljović. But that is exactly where it needs to be. But for 2 legs running now, the second best player in the world, according to the world rankings, has missed a big number, and it has cost him a dart at a double. He's only got a dart at the bullseye. He's failed to hit it, and Mensur has taken advantage. 4-0 with 2 breaks of throw.
38.
It's clinical from Suljović. But Gary Anderson has always been the advocate when on 80 left to go for 2 double tops, and he always guarantees a 20 by going very low on the first one. If he snags the double top, he'll then hit another one. But if he hits the single, he can then have another single and hit tops. You can tell that he may be slightly rusty with that big 5. I've never seen him do that before.
Well, that's the thing as well. When you go double top, you've always got a chance of missing outside the board and scoring nothing. But you're minimising the chance of missing wide. It's the widest section of the dartboard for the 20 there. And for him to miss, it's just not the Gary Anderson we know. The averages are still 97 apiece here, but Gary Anderson has only had 3 darts at double. 2 of them have been at the bullseye, and he should have had darts at actual doubles. It's mistakes of his own making here, Anderson.
If you were to look at the statistics only and not the leg score, you'd probably say that the guys were level. But the checkered percentages really do tell the story, don't they?
Something about doubles for dough. Very nearly one of those 180s for show there. And once again, Anderson is having a mare on the bullseye today.
42.
Goalkeeper's in on that bullseye for Anderson. But now, Suljović, treble 20 will leave the Suljović, the double 14. He's got it. It's right in the bottom of that bed. Double 14. It's a perfect guide. Oh, that's why it's called the Suljović. He's got it. He's got that double, but he's also got a 5-0 lead against the world number 2.
Game on.
Gary Anderson came into this as the favourite. He came into this as a lot of people's tips to go on and win the whole thing. But Mensur Suljović is not just beating the world number 2 on his Champions League of Darts debut. He is annihilating him right now. And he's not stopping. It could be another.
It's a beautiful angle to show you that he used his second dart, which missed the board, to his aid to get it into the double 14. The way his darts stand up in the board, it was a perfect guide. And if he missed the double slightly, the other dart was going to help it, and it did.
Yeah, Mensur, we know, you look at the way he throws a dart, where he holds a dart, his legs kicking, his arms and legs going everywhere. It is not an orthodox throw, but the way his darts go into the board and the way he uses them is quite orthodox, isn't it?
Very much so. From a physics point of view, he's enhanced everything he does in the last 15, 20 years. When he does the leg kick, it doesn't actually mess with his arm. It's just an idiosyncrasy that some players have, and Mensur Suljović does it a little bit more eccentrically than others.
55.
And Mensur has benefited. There you go. There's a leg. Mensur Suljović has benefited from Gary Anderson making a bit of a mess of things at the back end of legs, and has got a couple of breaks. But this is just a stunning leg from the gentle, who's looking at 16. Double 9 it is. You know what that's next to, don't you? It's next to the Mensur, and he pins it for a 12-darter. It is 6-0 to the gentle, who is being anything but.
Well, Rudolf Nureyev has got nothing on Mensur Suljović when it comes to dancing on the hockey, but right now Suljović is dancing all over Gary Anderson. And Dan Dawson, this is unbelievable.
Well, this is not a surprise that Mensur Suljović can go and average 103, as he is doing right now. As Anderson finally comes to the party and hits his first 180. He's still averaging 98 and getting done 6-0 here, the world number 2. But it is a surprise that Mensur has done this now, after a few weeks, if not months, of relative inactivity.
99.
What we can confirm to the guys at home is that Suljović was playing this well about 12 months ago. If he'd have played in the Champions League this time last year, he would have been doing this for sure. But doing it right now, it is a bit of a surprise because his form has dipped.
Yeah, he made the European Championship final last year. It was his first big TV final, Mensur Suljović, and he was sublime. He went into it, his form over the year made him the second seed behind only Michael van Gerwen, and it was only Michael van Gerwen who beat him in that final. Mensur Suljović has become a top player over the last 3 years or so. But it has been a bit of a dip in form lately. This is a very welcome return to form. However, Anderson, sometimes when you rile him up, he can just find some extra gears, and maybe this is the start of the Anderson fight back. It's going to have to be some fight back from 6-0 down.
Tops it is for Gary, and he's on the board. 1 down, 9 to go. But even a little smirk from Gary Anderson, and you can tell that he's not happy. But you're right, Dan. If Gary Anderson gets a little bit angry, he can get under your skin very, very easily. But that is a picture-perfect double top from a guy who loves that double.
But he only kicks off 45 in the next leg. You heard the roar when Anderson got the board there. Hugely popular player. Because he is one of the most scintillating players to watch. In full flow, Gary Anderson can be irresistible. And even Michael van Gerwen has said he believes the player most likely to challenge him over the next few years in big tournaments is that man right there.
My favourite throw of all time, Gary Anderson. It's just so fluent. And it just doesn't seem like he's going to miss when he's on form. I mean, breaking the world record for the most amount of 180s in a world championship, and not actually winning the title It's an incredible statistic, but he's noted for the amount of big scores he hits.
Down to a finish, Gary Anderson, looking to make it 2 legs on the spin. Mensur, of course, had a crack at this earlier. It's got to be 3 perfect darts.
Not this time. So Gary Anderson,
65.
double 18 to get another one back. And there it is. Just get the feeling that Gary Anderson's starting to warm up a little bit, starting to settle. His form goes up, Suljović's form ever so slightly goes down a bit.
Well, Mensur's still averaging 102.5. Gary Anderson's average is up to nearly 102, though. The 6-leg gap is now 4. The crowd starts singing his name. Maybe the Flying Scotsman might mount a stirring fight back here.
He's starting to hit the segments he's going for. It's that simple in darts sometimes. But the averages, very, very similar. Like we said a few legs ago, it could have been level, but it was 6-0 Suljović. Checkered percentages, not bad at all. But it's the timing of Suljović that has been impeccable up until the last couple of legs anyway.
Yeah, the stats, there's not much between them. There really isn't. If you told any player in darts, after the first 8 legs you're averaging 103 and hitting 40% of your doubles, you're thinking, yeah, I'll take that. I'll be ahead with that.
84.
Certainly not.
In the last match with Peter Wright and Dave Chisnell went into the break absolutely thrilled with 4-6 down. Gary Anderson will dance off stage.
And that is something I would like to see. Down for the 19s. Now, these are the sorts of checkouts that can win you games. Awkward ones. You may only get 1 dart at a double. Your opponent's on a finish himself. Has Mensur Suljović got the winning double? 18 for double top. Crucial, crucial moment. And Mensur does not find the target.
Anderson looking for treble 18. Now he's looking at tops again.
42.
Just lacking a bit of pace. And contrary to the last couple of legs, Anderson couldn't check it out. So Suljović has 3 in hand to take a 7-2 advantage.
Double 10. Chasing it around the board. Double 5 last dart in hand.
30. Gary require 20.
Double 10. Slightly awkward. Well, if the first one wasn't, that definitely is. Can he bend it around? No, he can't. The crowd can't believe it. They're coming to Gary's aid, but he's unable to get that double.
This is awkward, and it's important. Mensur, double 5. Can't afford to miss inside now. Doesn't, so he still gets another crack at it. And he gets it! And he knows the Mensur headbutt makes an appearance. 7-2, and the world number 2 is potentially 3 legs away from losing his opening game.
Well, Dan, we've been watching Mensur Suljović for quite a long time in PDC Tour darts, and that may be the most subdued headbutt celebration I've ever seen. It was almost whimsical.
134.
He's not usually one for holding back in his celebrations, Mensur Suljović, but I guess when you've survived a whole host of darts to lose the leg, maybe tone it down a touch. I think that's more relief than anything.
get Mensur Suljović in a real gritty game where he's playing at his peak, and that celebration gets ever so slightly more aggressive.
100.
But I like the double 5 from Suljović because, yes, the first 2 darts weren't perfect, but it was an aggressive dart, the third one, and it got him that check mark for a 7-2 lead.
Well, look, this is the last leg before a short break. Mensur Suljović, if he were to produce another break of throw here, and he is giving himself a real chance. Oh, that's an awkward one.
25. Gary require 124.
Treble 18 for the bullseye.
99.
And he edges it once more. 142
142
is very, very tricky. 2 trebles needed. Takes the treble 20 option. Went for the other one. If he'd have hit it,
100.
it would have been double 11.
25.
Well, he's almost left himself double 1 there, but Gary Anderson, double 12. It's the double he hit to win both his world titles, and it's a crucial one in this one. From a eyebrow-raising victory against the world #2, and his 3rd career victory in 5 games with Gary Anderson. As things stand, both men averaging just shy of 100. Mensur hitting more doubles, but these breaks can change games, can't they? We've seen that before.
They can indeed, and Premier League darts experience that Gary Anderson has got to be in his favour now, because in the past they've played games on big stages and on this very stage here in Cardiff, where they've had a break in the middle, they've had to come back, and Gary's going to need all that experience now in order to get this deficit down and give himself a chance to strike and get that win.
Well, there have been a few uncharacteristic mistakes from Gary Anderson that have helped Mensur Suljović get to this position, and in the words of Michael van Gerwen, he can no longer afford any mistakes.
All he'll be thinking about now
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
is getting
You'll
level.
have a flag, men set at
That's the most
12
important thing.
Game on.
Get level with him, come out the blocks like Suljović did in session 1 and break him in this leg, and then keep going.
Well, Mark Webster mentioned before this match that Gary Anderson, he's got great record in these sort of group stage format tournaments. The Grand Slam is the other one. He absolutely adores the Grand Slam. He says that is the one he really wants to tick off his list. He's won the Premier League a couple of times, the World Championship a couple of times, Players' Championship finals. That's a good one to win, isn't it, Paul? That one?
Yeah, not too bad.
But the Grand Slam is the one he really, really craves. But he'd certainly like to add this, because he's made, if he hasn't won a big TV title in the PDC, he's made at least the final, apart from here and at the World Match Play.
82.
Talking about Gary's experience as well, is that he can negotiate his way through a tournament very, very well. At the Wolverhampton Civic, where they play the Grand Slam of darts, a lot of times he has lost his first match in the group stages and then rebounded so well. Remember the year that I made my debut at the Grand Slam, I actually played Gary in my first game. He made the semi-finals that year. I got eliminated from the group, so it's a marathon, not a sprint. He understands that concept.
Yeah, that is the luxury you get in these group stage formats. I don't think Mensur would have gone the bullseye route for this, because Gary Anderson not on a finish. All he wanted to do was set it up. In the end, he should give himself 2 darts for an 8-3 lead.
Big mathematical error from Gary Anderson. In his anger, he's gone for a 20. Should have been a 19 to leave a finish, just in case Suljović doesn't clean up this double top.
36.
And now Gary Anderson does not have a shot at a finish.
We talk about counting, we talk about going for the correct shots and the right routes, and there is an example of how it can cost you. Mensur is coming back to the board here. Gary had no chance of going out in that visit. It could have been different. It could have been winning that first leg after the break. He may yet do it. But the double 5, it was crucial earlier.
10 score. Gary require 110.
Can he keep himself in this match with a vital, 110 checkout. Treble 18. Just goes next door. Suljović knows that he cannot miss this time.
And so you require 10.
Double 5. He is 2 legs away. And Gary Anderson, we know he doesn't like playing Mensur Suljović. We know he finds it hard, but today doesn't look like it'll change his mind, despite firing in his second 180 of the game there.
It's very fair to say that there are more Gary Anderson fans in this audience than there are Mensur Suljović fans. Having said that, Mensur mania is making its way through the UK a little bit more these days, as opposed to Germany and Austria and Holland.
Who knows? Mensur could be destined for even bigger things. Major titles, Premier League spot, World Series maybe. We shall see.
Well, look at the effect that Mensur Suljović has had on Austrian darts. Young guys coming through, other players who are a little bit more experienced in years, who have picked up the darts again and decided to get better. He's had this feed-on effect, and that's what the PDC are trying to do worldwide, with Australia, with New Zealand, with North America. You get one talisman in a country, watch it explode, and that's exactly what's happening with World Darts.
Well, Gary Anderson thinking a little more clearly this leg. He went for the 18 in the last visit and did leave himself a finish. It's academic, really, but he's chipping away.
There have been a lot of misdarted doubles in this match, but Gary needs to hit this one. And it's that same spot to the left and low. That characteristic is telling us that maybe the throw is a little bit languid and a little bit stretched.
Hang about. Hang about. Mensur for a huge one, double top. It's there! Mensur Suljović a leg away. A stunning 157. And Gary Anderson is on the brink.
Unmistakably the best finish we've seen so far in this year's Championship League of Darts, Champions League of Darts. And the headbutt this time was a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more confident. Not so whimsical this time.
You earned that celebration, 157. And they hurt, don't they, Paul? Particularly if you've just missed dot, you're way ahead, you've missed dots for the leg, and then they take out a massive one. They really hurt.
As an opponent, you know that the guy in front of you is capable of hitting it. But realistically, you say to yourself, I'll get another shot.
96.
But for the amount of times that's been done to Gary Anderson, he has done it to other people. So what goes around comes around sometimes. It just seems to me that Suljović is a little bit sharper today, and he's taking advantage of the shots.
Well, every single game they have had in the past, all 4 have been pretty close. A 6-4 win for Mensur and a 13-9 win at the match play, that first meeting a couple of years ago. Gary's wins have both been 6-5. But this is a chasm between these two in the legs. Not in the stats, not in the averages, but in the legs. And that is all that matters. Because Mensur has a very realistic opportunity to win this 10-3. And not only, I mean, it's a losing start for Gary Anderson, but put a big dent in his hopes of getting out the group, because that leg difference is not going to do him any favours.
It's all about leg difference, not just now, but tonight and tomorrow. 56, and it could be all over.
Double top once again. And the gentle has brutalised Gary Anderson. A 10-3 win for the Austrian on his debut in the Champions League. Soaring to the top of the group. And look at the celebration from the man. Gary Anderson, a huge, huge amount of work to do for the 2-time world champion and world #2.